Okay. Yeah, they cut me off. I hope you guys can hear me. I didn't do that. YouTube shut me down. Interesting. And of course, since I do all of this on my own, I don't have a producer, to keep track of what's going on. I didn't even know that it had stopped. It had stopped 20 minutes in, right when I was talking about the male and female thing. So you guys missed. I went on for another half an hour, it looks like, and all of that's lost. I'm sorry. Again, that's what happens when you try to do this on your own. Yeah, the AI probably did it. Yeah. So I don't even know where I was. And I feel kind of bad about it. Well, I feel really bad about it, but I should have known. So I was talking about the male and the female. You got to stop falling for that. Don't fall for the Baphomet stuff. You become a worshiper of Baphomet when you say that you won't be male or female. Boy, you missed a lot. I explained what the cyber pandemic was, I hope, in a long dissertation. That cyber pandemic is that they're trying to block you. It's their cyber pandemic. They don't want their efforts to control you to be overridden by God in what He's about to do, and so they're trying to stop that. That's it in a nutshell. I then talked about the Democrats accusing Trump of being a dictator and all that, and that's all been part of the program to make you support Trump, regardless of what he does. So they're telling you that he's going to be a dictator. So I talked about my disrespect for Colonel Oliver North during Iran-Contra. I was a captain at the time in the Army, and he was testifying about how important it was that they violated the Constitution in order to protect it, which was absurd. That's an oxymoron. That's not logical. That's evil. You can't save something by destroying it. So I stood against Oliver North when he said that, and basically General Michael Flynn now is saying that to violate the Constitution in order to save it. So I stand against Michael Flynn as well, in a nutshell. And I think you may have missed my 666 explanation too. 666, I did a deep dive on it. I put it on Twitter. You might want to go back and look at it. Again, I'm sorry that I don't have a producer that could have fixed this when it happened. But I talked about 666. I did a deep dive into it. In the Greek, part of the number is a stigmata, which means to pierce or to cut, mainly to pierce. So the idea of, again, the injection, the actual mark is in the name. And then I did what's called a thashrak or tamura in Hebrew. In Hebrew, each letter represents a number. And if you just, the 666 came out into some very important things just in the Hebrew itself. Again, it has to do with marking the idea of piercing you with something. It actually means that. A nailing and an emphatic nailing, like assenting to the crucifixion of Jesus. An emphatic nailing, that's the best way to put it. But also when I use thashrak tamura, which is changing the order of the letters, if you take 666 and write it out in the Hebrew with tav being the 400, Samik being the 60 and the Vav being the 6, you come out with 666. I did a thashrak tamura on that, which is basically rearranging the letters, which the prophets used to do to convey a meaning, and it came out to the word Sethav, Samik Tav Vav, which means dark winter. It's all there. It's dark winter. Sethav, dark winter, to hide, something hidden. Winter, dark winter. Okay. People will receive the mark because they know that if they don't, they won't be able to take part in their pleasures. Remember, the scripture says in those latter days, men will be lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. So that they can continue. I'm not saying that going to the bar is the wrong thing. I enjoy it myself. But if they're going to say that I have to take the mark of the image of the beast in order to do it, I won't do it. I will put aside those things that I enjoy and accept God. So a lot of people won't. They'll be lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. Those people will have a problem. Not as much as those who take the mark so they can worship the image of the beast and partake in his kingdom. They've got a real problem. Well, I'm disappointed that they did that, but I'm not surprised that YouTube cut off my stream halfway or 20 minutes in. So I talked about a lot of things that you probably missed, but I think I just did a background on it. There's going to be martial law because I think, in my own personal opinion, because they've accused Trump of wanting to do that. They're prepping you to have it happen, and he will remain in power. If he's not the Antichrist, he is an Antichrist spirit. But I do believe, with what I talked about before, the plague A, the wound in the head from the plague, that he is that image of that beast, one of the heads of the beast, which is a system. Okay, I'll go back and I'll review what happened here. You know, I might have to stop doing live streams because I think this is going to get bad. I might have to just go back to doing recordings because at least then I'll know that what I put up isn't getting monkeyed with in the process of me streaming. And yet I will, I don't know that Trump is leaving, Stephen Miller. I don't know that. I think we're going to see some really crazy stuff happen here in the next couple of weeks. I'm waiting for another guy. Some of you might know who he is. I'm not going to mention his name right now. Who he's been spending a few days in contemplation, meditation, prayer, probably some fasting. I'm hoping to hear from him as well on this issue of Trump. I don't think Trump's going to leave the White House. But even if he does, I think he'll still be in a position of power somehow. We're in a very, very bad time. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm sorry that YouTube shut down the stream. I think they knew where I was going with it. And I don't know that this part 2 has covered what you missed in the first one. I don't think so. I think I went on for another 30 minutes without even knowing that. And I looked over and I thought it was live, but it wasn't. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. To recap, the important salient points. Klaus Schwab talked about COVID-19 is an opportunity to change your basic humanity into something else. And eventually, in so many words, to kill you. He said that it's a preparation for this great cyber pandemic that's coming. And this is a pandemic they're afraid of, that God will do something to inhibit their system from influencing you, that they don't want God to do something that will overwrite what they're trying to do to you. So they would consider that a cyber pandemic. And I talked about Shemesh before, and that whatever it is, it's coming from the real sun in the sky, or at least that's one of the tools, electromagnetic or whatever's going to happen. I talked about Dr. Sluey, or whatever the heck he is, of Moderna, who Trump put in charge of warp speed, that you saw where his eye was going weird. And I'm not saying he was a serpent or a reptile. That could have been a glitch in the software. But regardless, he said 2 things that were really troubling to me. He said that they want it to be a one shot with 100% efficacy, and they want 100% compliance. They're going to force this on you one way or another, despite what people say. Well, Trump's not going to force it on anybody. He doesn't have to. The corporations and the state governments, etc., will do that. The stores, etc. His plausible deniability. Then I talked about 666, and that there's this Thash Rack with it, which comes out to be Dark Winter. Thash Rack Tamura being a reorganization of the letters or the numbers. Then I talked about Michael Flynn and how he was like Oliver North. Let's violate the Constitution to save the Constitution. So that's just a recap. I'll go back and I'll review both the first stream and this part 2 to see what maybe is missing. Hi, Nancy. Did you see what just happened? I was right in the middle. I'd gone 20 minutes into my live stream, and either YouTube took it down, whether it was an operator or the AI, I don't know which, but they shut off the stream. And I didn't know it. Yeah, that's what happened. I started right at 6:30, Nancy. And I went for 20 minutes, and of course, not having somebody watching the screen, I got really involved to what my presentation was, and they just cut the stream off. So this I'm not sure what, I'm going to have to go back and look, but I was really on a rant. So, any idea why? Oh, I'm sure it's because of what I was talking about. You'll see. Klaus Schwab's cyber pandemic, what it really is. And I was getting into 666 and male and female, and then they saw I was going to go into martial law and what General Flynn is up to and Trump. So they saw where it was going, so they cut it down. Anyway, so you missed a whole lot. Everybody did, because I went off running my mouth and not checking my screen. If I look disappointed, I really am. Well, why should I stay on? There's a great man on right now, which is one reason why I try to start early. I want you, David Knight on InfoWars. He's the only one at InfoWars I have any respect for. My brother was the Army news chief for a while, and he said that David Knight was the best journalist that he could name. So David Knight's on right now, so you really need to go listen to what he's saying, please. So I recapped everything, missed a lot of the good stuff. Like I said, I probably won't do live streams anymore. I think I'll just do recordings, because that was bad. Yeah, Knight is wonderful and brave. Yeah, I can just imagine the discomfort in InfoWars right now, because I don't know what Alex's motivation is, but he will not call Trump out on this pandemic bullshit. And that's incomprehensible and cowardly, as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what his reasoning is. That he needs to stay in the fight and try to influence the good Trump supporters. I don't know what the hell he's doing. Yeah, money. Yeah, that's probably true. But he's been at this for so long. I don't want to falsely accuse him of that. But by the same token, I'm extremely disappointed. And if it wasn't for David Knight, I wouldn't have anything to do with InfoWars at all. Zero. At this point. He even sent me a tweet yesterday. I sent him a tweet thanking him for what he's done and sticking his neck out, and he responded to me and said thank you, and I was grateful for that. Sometimes you wonder if what you do is worthwhile. So I'll just end on this. And I've talked about it before. They're trying to destroy the image of God that you were made in. And you can say it's in attributes or whatever, but that's really not what it is, or that's not only what it is. You are, as men and women, in the image of God, and you are to remain men and women unless you sin to such a point where you lose that benefit of being in the image of God. And don't fall for the false doctrines that are taught to you, the doctrines of men that are taught as the commandments. They're not. If you support the idea that you're not male or female in the resurrection, then you are that is a curse. It's not a blessing, and you are actually parroting the doctrines of Baphomet, Lucifer. That's all I got. I guess that took the wind out of my sails, didn't it? God. That's just to be expected, though, and I think more of it's going to happen where YouTube just shuts you down. No, you don't understand. Let's see. Somebody said something here I want to go back and address. TIU said, Roy, that's ridiculous. Of course, what you do is worthwhile. Stop. Live stream is like cutting off your arm. I'll think about it. Is the message I think the message is more important than even the little bit of interaction that we get here. We'll see. Okay. Go listen to David Knight. I'm sure he has some very important information, and you've already missed over a half an hour of it. Okay? Out here for now.